Hi guys, it's Eldon here, back with Crazy Dad Garage, and we're going to introduce you to the next one in our series of projects here. This one, kind of a fun story on it. I had an older gentleman who's a friend of mine, and he had this truck sitting out in his driveway for a long time, and I asked him what was the scoop on it, and he was kind of frustrated. He'd picked it up from a friend of his years ago and driven it for quite a while, and then the engine went out in it, so he and his buddy rebuilt the engine in the garage and got it all done and put it together. And then, as my friend was getting up there in age, he was losing his eyesight and couldn't drive it anymore. And so his wife drove him all over town, and he'd got the truck running, and it kind of was just sitting in his garage for when they might need it to drive up to their cabin or something. And he'd go out every month or so and start it and let it run enough to warm up and then shut it off, just to try to kind of keep it in shape. And he was out one day and he'd started it up and walked off and was doing something, and all of a sudden he heard it go, yeah, pump, and locked up, and the engine, something had gone bad in the engine on it. So I asked him what he's going to do with it, and he says, at this point, besides the fact that it's got a good set of tires on it, I'm going to haul the dumb thing to the wrecking yard and they can have it. And I'm like, can I be the wrecking yard that gets it? And he said, sure, if you want it, it's yours. And so, kind of excited about this truck. It'll be fun. The other truck that we've done in the series is the Crazy Dad bump side, and it's a four-wheel drive, and I like four-wheel drives, but I'm a two-wheel drive guy. I like street trucks and things like that if I'm going to really spend the money to fix them up. And so this one, I'm going to show it to you here. It's been owned by a series of older gentlemen, for the most part, since it was new, and so it hasn't been beat up real bad. And it's a 1978 Chevrolet C-20, so it's a 3/4 ton pickup truck. And I'm going to flip the phone around here so that I can describe it a little more in detail and tell you why I think this is a great Crazy Dad Lowbuck old car project. So here we go. All right, here it is. This is our Crazy Dad Square Body is what we're going to call this one. And like I said, a 78 Chevrolet C-20 3/4 ton. It's actually a camper special, which means it was a little extra heavy duty 3/4 ton. And I can't see it on this side. I think it's the other side. It says that it had a 454 in it to start with. It now has a 350 and an automatic transmission, which is good for me. I mean, it'd be fun to have a 454, but the important thing is that the engine is a good starting point for us. So remember, I've said if you can get one that's got a good running engine, that's where you want to really start on a low buck project. Well, I'm making an exception with this one for two reasons. First, because it was given to me, so it's a cheap starting point. But secondly, because they rebuilt this engine and put all new parts in it, and something in it broke. And so I'll be able to go in there and figure out what that was and replace that part and probably some other things that it might have messed up in the process. But because it's a 350 Chevy now, it's one of the cheapest engines on the planet to rebuild. I'll be able to find those rebuilder parts and put in the thing. Hopefully it didn't mess up the block or something critical like that, and we'll be able to just take it apart and go back in with some good reconditioned parts and have the thing in good shape, and we can take off from there. But as you can see, there's a couple things about this truck. It's got a little bit of rust on it, but the more that I've looked over it, that rust is kind of concentrated in a few places that are pretty easy to fix. The body is really quite straight. The worst panel on it is this fender here, but it's also the most rusty one, and so I'll probably just find myself another fender and put on there. And we're going to need a new bumper. We got a pretty handy dent in it, and I don't think I'll be able to figure out how to fix that effectively. But interestingly enough, as I've walked around the U-Pull at wrecking yards, you don't find any good bumpers on pickups, but surprise, surprise, there's a lot of old vans in there, and I've measured them out, and they have the same bumper on them. Most of them are painted instead of chrome, which is okay with me. and so we'll get that and get it put on. We're going to need to weld in some new cab corners and maybe some rocker panels on this thing. And I'm thinking I'll probably replace this fender too, because it's got some rust spots on it. And on the bed, we've got this spot behind the tire on both sides is rusted out, and it's the only place on the outside that's a problem. The other thing is that wheel well over there, that patch that's on it, is over a rusted out spot, so we'll have to do that. There's also one right there, but that one is actually repairable with just a flat piece of metal that I could weld in. So now I'm going to have to spend much money on those kind of things on this. Got a full propane system in, but I'm going to take that out because I just want to have a street truck and see if I can get a couple bucks out of that. The other big thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to shorten this bed. I want to have a short bed, and that's one of the big things that we're going to be doing on the Crazy Dad Garage, is showing you how to shorten pickups in their beds. We've talked about doing that on the Crazy Dad's bump side too, so this is just going to be another in that series of how to shorten a pickup bed videos that'll go along with it. But outside of that, this pickup's in amazingly good condition. I'd say it was owned by some old guys, and so they took pretty good care of it. The interior is in really pretty nice shape. This is one of the first things I've ever seen that didn't have a badly cracked dashboard. It looks like it's got one crack in it there, but that's pretty minor as far as I'm concerned. Nothing that we can't cover up with a dash pad or something. They had pulled the ashtray and the glove box out of it, trying to track some wires down. That ended up not being the issue, so we'll put that back together. The seat is, the upholstery's hammered on it, but the basic, the foam and everything underneath it's in good shape, so I'll probably find a decent seat cover and put on it. The headliner has come apart. I'll have to check and see what's available to do on that and take that from there, so I'm not real sure. But other than that, this thing, once we get the motor in it, it should fire right up and be perfectly drivable. And so I think this is gonna be a really great low dollar project. I don't think I'll get it done for as cheap as I would the bump side four-wheel drive, because that one's already running and everything. And this one, actually, the body's in good enough shape that I'm going to repair some of these rusted out spots, and make it so that it is a pretty decent drivable street truck instead of a rusty one. But I think we're going to have a pretty fun project here, and I think it's going to go pretty quick and be relatively inexpensive in the process. So there you go. That's the Crazy Dad Square Body, we're going to be calling it. And we will take off, and probably the first videos that we'll start here is we'll actually pull the bed off and start cutting the bed down, because my garage right now is too short. The truck will barely fit in here, and so I can't work on it. But if I take about nearly 2 feet out of that bed and the frame, then all of a sudden, bingo, I can get it in the garage, and we can work on it and pull the motor out and those kind of things. So I think that's where we're going to start, is pulling that bed off and start cutting it up and shortening it. So we'll let you see that in the next one of our series, so get ready, follow along. Hopefully, you'll say, well, yeah, you got lucky when you found that truck. Well, I'm sure I did, but I got lucky because I kept my ear to the ground. I'm always out there looking for something, and if you're not in a hurry, things like this pop up every once in a while. So keep your eyes out. This is a perfect low buck project. The only thing that could make it better is if the engine was already running and hadn't had that problem. But I believe that I'll be able to fix that motor for less than $500. And then I'll have a rebuilt engine in the thing, and the tranny I think's in good shape. I might put some seals in it and stuff while we got it out. But yeah, we've got a great beginnings to a low buck project here, and when we're done with it, we're going to shorten it up. We're going to put some custom wheels and tires on it, and we might lower it. I haven't decided on that yet, but we start into those kind of things, we start spending a lot of money. But if we get the right wheels and tires on this thing, it's going to be cool just like it is. So anyway, there we go. The Crazy Dad Square Body. Get ready to roll with another fun project from Crazy Dad's Garage.